Thank you, everyone, and really it's just a privilege to be able to address such a distinguished audience. I'm Andy Navarrete. I head external affairs for Capital One, and I have with me today Jamarl Clark, Community Life Program Manager, a vastly superior title, for the Plaza West development. It's a very unique community that you'll be hearing a little bit more about in a moment, just north of here. We understand that we're the last panel between you and the keynote from Dave Grohl. And having seen Dave and the Foo Fighters open the Anthem nightclub just down the road, we have learned the lesson of every smart opening act, which is keep it short and focus on your hits. And so in that spirit, a quick conversation about a very, very daunting topic, I would imagine, for many of you and your communities and the communities that you serve, which is the crisis of affordable housing in this country. Now, oftentimes when we talk about affordable housing, we talk about it in the context of availability. But the fact is that one of the major challenges is not only making housing available, but making communities sustainable. And so if you'll indulge me, on your seats or underneath your seats, you have a card with a particular identity associated with it. And so we'd love for you to, we're not going to quiz you on it, but we'd love you to sort of pull that out and to look at the description of the individual that is on that card. And the purpose of this exercise is to think about affordable housing in a slightly different way, which is this notion of serving the unique needs of particular constituencies and certain communities. Because if you're going to build sustainable and successful affordable housing, you need to, one, understand those individual needs and circumstances. I mean, whether you're a veteran who is trying to transition back into the workforce, whether you're somebody who has struggled with homelessness or mental illness and needs supportive services to address the many challenging circumstances and needs. Whether you're an elderly retiree on a fixed income and suddenly finding yourself with childcare responsibilities at a stage in life where maybe you hadn't planned for that. And that is, in many respects, the unique story of Plaza West. But we want you then, as you think about the individual circumstances on the card, to think about what kinds of supportive services would help you navigate the environment in which you've found yourself. And so when you think about financial literacy courses, when you think about workforce development activities, when you think about all of the community programming that many organizations, including Capital One, are very, very proud to support, integrating that into affordable housing is something that we have found is absolutely critical. Capital One started, its origin story is a company that sought to reach the underserved market in banking and financial services by recognizing that one size fits all doesn't work for most communities. And so what I have found so intriguing and so inspiring about Jamarl's story and the story of Plaza West was that they identified a very, very particular need in this community. Over 1,000 families in DC are qualified as grandfamilies. And this is where grandparents are suddenly found with the responsibility for caring for their grandchildren. Now, as you might imagine in those circumstances, in the vast majority of cases, no formal adoption takes place. And when you think about navigating the legal system, when you think about the eligibility for subsidized housing, what you find is that there are gaps in the law that don't accommodate these communities. And so this was the insight that Jamarl and the developers of Plaza West had, and where we wanted to partner. And if you go to the Capital One About page, you can find out about other communities serving veterans, those individuals with mental illness, artists, all sorts of different communities, again, with these sort of unique needs. But let me turn to you, Jamarl, and tell us a little bit about the aha moment that you had that found you pursuing this work and the inspiration behind Plaza West.
Yeah, I only got 5 minutes to sell this to everybody to do it in your city. I mean, the thing is, it was a vision of Bible Way Church. Bible Way Church in DC has been around for over 80 years. And the pastor, Pastor Smallwood, in the 80s, with the crack epidemic, he knew that he wanted to do an intergenerational center So many years later, Bible Way Church decided to go into affordable housing and saw a 60-minute piece about grandfamilies and decided, you know what, we're going to do housing strictly for grandparents that are raising grandchildren. It's a demographic that has been left out. It's nothing new. Raise your hand if your grandmother or your grandpa raised you. All right. A lot of people were raised by their grandparents. However, grandparents were not given the support that they needed in terms of financial, and the biggest thing that we see in our world is shelter.
So tell me about some of the circumstances that lead to these sort of unique housing arrangements. I know that oftentimes it can be very challenging, and can be very challenging not only for the grandparents, but for the children involved. So tell me a little bit about maybe some of the backstories of some of the residents of Plaza West.
Yeah, so most of our grandparents, they lost a child. A lot of them are grieving. I had grandparents that were moving in a week after burying their child. And in that moment, we had to figure out how we could get all the resources that they need. We've had parents that have, they've been incarcerated, and the list goes on, but those are two of the main ones, is incarcerated and grieving families. And you see a lot of tears at Plaza West, but you see a lot of hope too, because this is a place that they can come to and get resources that they need to be successful. There's 50 grandfamilies total, including our youth. It's 133. Most of the population, 88 of them are youth. So it's really loud at Plaza West in a couple hours.
So Jamarl, tell me about some of the specialized supportive services that you offer as part of your programming.
Yeah, we have a strong partnership with Howard University School of Social Work. They provide a monthly support group. We also have the YMCA that comes in and does chair aerobics. I'm doing it because I participate with them as well. I think I've lost 1 pound. We've had tutoring on site. And we're continuing to evolve in what programs do they need. We want to be very intentional about who come through our doors, all right? We've only been around for a year. We've only been open for a year. It feels like 10 years. However, we are really trying to see how the population of seniors, and we start at 50 years old and up, and then our youth that come in under 17 years old, they have two separate needs, right? And we're trying to marry those needs. Saturday, we had a fall festival. They packaged the cupcakes. They was like, the kids are gonna get the cupcakes at the end of the event, Mr. Clark. I said, please let them live. Give them the cupcakes. But it's that example of older adults versus the youth. And our office is right in the middle to bring that connection together.
So while I struggle with the notion that being 50 qualifies me as a older, I'll try to gloss right past that. Tell me a little bit about some of the benefits. We talk about, you can find these kinds of services elsewhere. You can find affordable housing that is more sort of available to broader populations. But tell me some of the unique benefits of actually bringing these individuals and these communities together. So, when these grandfamilies get to interact, what do you see sort of come from that experience?
I see community. I see them work together. I see them take turns driving the kids to school. I see them supporting each other and relating with one another if it's pertaining to grieving. They have similar stories. No longer are their kids, their grandchildren in the classroom saying, oh, I'm one of the few that's being raised by my grandparent. They live in a housing development with other grandchildren. They are all in the same boat. I have watched them come together. They have planned events together. They have their own T-shirt. I was like, when do you all design a T-shirt? They no longer, they're able to pull on each other for strength. And it's amazing to watch them walk by my office, if they're not knocking on my door, and just see them smiling as they're just embracing each other.
So Jamarl, I'll give you the last word. 25 seconds to tell me the one thing you want this audience to know about Plaza West.
You should do it in your city. And that's simple as that, you should do it in your city. If you need the help, call us. but we have to look out for this population, okay? We have senior housing, we have veteran housing, we have to have grand family housing. And that's what we're doing. If you want to learn more about our work, I see 000, please contact us. And thank you so much, Andy.
Okay, thank you all.